Yep.
I call it education, because that's what you got to do.
Yep.
You know, a lot of these guys, you gotta educate them.
Yeah.
Good, how are you doing?
And then they gotta recommend town halls. That's, you know, when can they do that? That kind of stuff. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm gonna try to put that on an Excel report. And have it for the meeting.
No problem.
I just wanna make sure, I think that's the right way to go with
Yeah,
this thing.
makes sense to me.
Because they're doing this.
Yeah.
And they go home, have a drink.
Yeah.
One of the other members, yeah, you know, why should we be, let's go for the gusto, just like they did last time. You got it.
Yeah.
Just to get
Is this good?
people out there, the vote's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
Hi there.
Good morning, Raymond.
Sorry, a little bit late this morning.
Oh, Dan. Dan on vacation?
Running far too
What?
fast.
No, he's going to be about 10 minutes late,
I think
they
you
were
got some of that
saying.
shirt on, I
He's
apologise.
coming down from Gainesville.
I saw it this morning.
Yeah, there's a lot more we need to write out.
But I have this.
It came, oh, okay, I'll quickly respond. But, yeah, there's a lot we need to.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Joni, is mine okay?
Is that okay from here?
Joni, is mine okay from here? Can you hear me okay? Testing.
Testing. 24. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, good.
This is Raymond. I'm number 23, and I wish I was again.
Testing.
Yeah, 19.
Testing.
29. Okay. Countdown. There you go. 30. Okay, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's surviving our torrential rains here we've been having. No major problems. It's 9:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Chrisanne, determination of a quorum.
We have a quorum. We have 6 of our board members present on stage. Our 7th board member is actually en route, so he should be about 10 minutes late.
Right. Okay, and confirmation of proper meeting notice.
Meeting was noticed in accordance with Florida Statute 720, as well as SummerGlen's governing documents.
Thank you. We'll start off with resident input on agenda items. So from the sign-up sheet, I have Roland LaFontaine.
Good morning. I want to talk about the street light conversion from gas to solar. Couple comments more than anything. The invoice that's in the package, I think, is incorrect for a couple of reasons. It doesn't show the final price, which I think is like $3,000 less than what's shown on the invoice. Am I correct on that?
Carol?
Well, you're the one that sent the information out, and I think you said in your email that it's like $3,000 less that the manufacturer gave a $3,000 discount. If not, I'd sure like to get,
It's, Roland, I believe it's a 3% discount?
No.
but- Well, I'm saying, the invoice shows a 3% discount.
yes, but that's not correct.
Okay, well, we're going to go back and talk to them again about, because I've seen some online pricing that's actually a little bit better than that, so we're going to
That's
go back.
right, because I can go to the outdoor solar store, which I worked with because I was
Exactly.
on the committee, and they gave at least a 7, and they might give more because this is a bigger amount.
Right,
And his email address is incorrect on that invoice as well. Question about hanging flags on these new lights. If these flags that are hanging on, that we may hang on these posts that are out there right now, they act like sails, I think. And they might tend to break these, or act on these posts as sails and put forces on these things that may tend to break them. So you want to look for some flags or whatever that have wind holes cut in them to ease that tension, or maybe even separate flags, okay, that don't hang on the poles. The mounting hardware, because I worked with the original one that's out there right now, hanging on the existing pole. The hardware that they give you is not very good. We might want to look at getting better mounting hardware once we get one in to take a look at, because, like I said, the mounting hardware is not all that great. Couple more things and I'll be done. But I do think that the end result is going to be a whole lot better. The lighting results are going to be better for those that walk in the evening or early in the morning before the sun comes up. The dog walkers. It's a very nice look as well. Yes, there may be some tree trimming involved, but we already do that for the SUVs and the motorhomes and whatnot. So that's about it. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, there were no other residents signed up to speak. So before we start the new business. Did you have a question? What's that?
Dan, sorry, Dan.
Oh, Dan, okay.
Oh, okay.
Dan's coming in the door.
All right, good.
Okay. I thought you said Roger had a question.
Before we go on to new business, there's a few things, just kind of general announcements I'd like to make. First of all, with regard to the pool maintenance contract advisory group, at our May board meeting, I gave an update on our pool maintenance contract. At that time, I forgot to recognize and thank the members of the advisory group who worked on the request for the quote package and making the recommendation to the board to bring the pool maintenance services in-house instead of using an outside contractor. Therefore, at this time, I would like to thank our resident volunteers, Diane Doan, Jerry Doan, and John Stenick. I would also like to thank my fellow board members, Dick, Dan, Raymond, as well as Chris Ann from Leland for their involvement with the advisory group. I want to give a special thanks to John Stenick, whose extensive water treatment knowledge was very valuable to the group. John not only brought his expertise to the group, but he also donated the use of his sophisticated water testing equipment, made multiple trips to Ocala to submit water samples to an independent third party for validation testing, and assisted the maintenance staff in getting our pool and spa back into proper condition. We are very fortunate to have residents who are willing to volunteer and lend their time, experience, and expertise to help make SummerGlen a great place to live. Thank you to all of our resident volunteers. Another announcement, major sporting news here. SummerGlen cornhole group will be challenging the Spruce Creek Golf and Country Club to a cornhole tournament. So there's an announcement that'll be coming out from the, it'll be hosted by Spruce Creek. So there's an announcement that'll be coming out in an email blast. So mark your calendars for an exhilarating sporting event as SummerGlen takes on Spruce Creek Golf and Country Club in an epic cornhole tournament. This groundbreaking tournament will go down in history as the first ever HOA live streamed sporting event of its kind. So join us on Friday, June 23rd at 11 a.m. live as the battle commences. You can catch all the action by clicking here on the day of the tournament to enjoy the live stream. So they're going to be live streaming the event hosted by Spruce Creek. Their group there has set up a live streaming so you can tune in and watch the SummerGlenners take on Spruce Creek.
Cool. That's a go team.
Yeah. Okay, so under new business, the first item is the DRB charter. So it's in, the draft copy is in everybody's package. So I don't know if, Lynn, is there any comments you wanted to make before we get into general discussion?
No, they've worked very hard on this. They've actually gone back and looked at our governing documents and mapped up some of the items on it. And the very first one for the purpose actually is in the governing documents where they're saying it is 11.6 in the covenants. So it's an exact match, word for word. So there's nothing to really discuss in that one item because the governing documents would outweigh whatever they had there anyway.
Okay. Any questions concerning the charter? No?
If it's out of the documents, I guess there's not too many questions we can ask. I had some, but it's word for word
Yeah.
in the document.
Yeah, it's word for word for the governing document.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's always a good idea that whenever we're looking at changes to whether it be a charter or policies or whatever, that we discuss, give it a chance to be discussed at a workshop before we have it a vote.
Right.
So, you know, I think in this case, this is pretty straightforward.
There's only one item I do question, and that's only from a possible legal perspective. Under the 5th responsibilities and duties, where it says guide homeowners in the progress of their project for efficiency and ease, I think it's a very nice idea to do it, but I don't know if we want to take on the responsibility of it in black and white.
I was going to suggest we go through one item at a time instead of jumping to the 5th.
Okay, you have some ahead of time? That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the way we usually go through.
Okay, yeah.
One thing at a time.
All right, so we'll hit it. So any questions under purpose?
No.
Organization? Term of office?
I have a few there.
Okay.
Dick, you need to speak in the mic. Can't hear you.
She checked it. I have to move it over here. Question I have is, members must reapply and receive Board of Director approval for additional terms. I have max number of terms for a new resident. One of the things that was brought up at one of my other committees was, do we say, look, you've got 2 terms, just like most political offices. You have 2 terms, and then we want to bring some fresh blood in. New residents have an opportunity at this point to apply. They can only do 2 terms. Is this the place we want to basically say, hey, look, 2 terms is enough? You sort of, we want some fresh ideas. We want to bring and get more new residents involved in these committees instead of the same people there forever and ever and ever. That was the question I had. And that's why I wanted to discuss it.
Yeah, I think with all of our charters, rather than having each charter having its own language under this area, that we probably just ought to refer to the policy that talks about committees
And then clean that up.
and,
And
yeah, if anything needs to be
make
changed, change it there,
changes
so we only
if-
change it
if-
in one place, we don't have to
Yeah,
change it in
and that-
5 or 6
that's-
different places.
Exactly. And these kinds of questions can be dealt with under referring to a specific policy.
But as of right now, I mean, there's nothing in that document as
I'm
far as
just
I'm
throwing
aware
that out for
has a
discussion
term
because
limit.
it is a valid point. Because sometimes we get stagnant, 6 years basically in the same, doing the same thing all the time. You want to put some fresh ideas, especially the social committee does that.
The only negative part would be if they are the only people that apply for the position. You don't want to have something out there that prevents somebody from being assigned to it.
Well, what happens, I'll tell you
yeah.
exactly what I was told. What happens is, oh, they've been here forever, I'm not even going to be bothered. If they're gone, then gee, I might step up.
Ah,
It's that
Okay.
mentality. And that's all I'm just throwing out there for a discussion point, and I think Jeff's point is well taken. Get the policy and agree
Policy.
to how we want to deal with it and refer to a policy instead, so we don't have to keep
Yeah.
changing all
Okay,
of these.
so as far as a proposed change, then, if you guys could take a look at, under this term of office, just reference the policy that talks about establishing committees and how the members are selected. Just refer to that rather than having a lot of verbiage that may have to be changed later, each and every document.
Yeah.
Right, so just reference that
Just reference the
policy.
document.
So this
Then
way,
we'll
if we
look
ever
at the
do
policy.
change the policy, it'll change for all charters without having to go in and change each individual charter. Yeah, so whatever language you need, but just,
We'll look at the
so we
policy.
don't have multiple documents to change, just reference the controlling document.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, so just reference that particular, whatever, whether it's in the covenants or wherever.
Now, I have one other question. And again, it follows the same lines. If someone, they talked about candidates resigning and there's a vacancy after 1 year or 2 years. The replacement individual doesn't refer that is they finished the term, or do they start another 3-year term? And I think that's another one that probably should be clarified in a policy.
I
We've
think that is in
always-
the policy.
we've always had that as finish the term, because then you don't run into a situation where you have all the committee members resign off at the same time.
So basically, we're saying take all of this read out and just refer to the policy and verify that the policy falls in place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything in meetings, section 4?
Yeah, I have something there, too. Well, we went through the social committee, so my mindset's somewhat there, the same
Okay.
type of thing.
I mean, they're not changing anything, but go ahead.
Well, part of my concern is that they're saying two members are a quorum. Well, that's not a quorum. Basically, according to some SCA, any 2 members of the board of the DRB shall constitute an act of the DRB. And I'm having a problem with that because there should be a quorum. You can't have 2 people sitting down and making a decision that affects the community or a resident. But they're saying that a quorum is not necessary to conduct business. That's the next line. It says,
They're
therefore,
saying according to the documents, so is that in the covenants?
yes. 2016, as a matter of fact. 7 years ago. So maybe it's time to fix it. All I'm getting at is, I think that, therefore, a quorum of the board is not necessary. I think they should always have a quorum before they make a decision that affects a resident. That's all I was getting at.
Well, that goes for all the committees, not just
Yeah.
DRB.
Exactly.
Well, but again, it's in quotes, that first portion, and it refers, doesn't say exactly which document, just says refers to the SummerGlen Owners Association documents. So it sounds like if we need to change that, it needs to be done in multiple places, not just on this.
We need to find out what documents it refers, where it's at.
Well,
guess.
one thing you have to keep in mind, the DRB is a little bit different than other committees.
Right.
They have a 30-day window over their head.
Yep.
So if for some reason, if you have a month where the DRB majority is on vacation, you got to allow them to have a meeting and make decisions. Otherwise, those applications automatically get approved. So they are a little bit different than normal committees.
And that's probably why it was put in that way. All I'm suggesting.
Right. Okay.
And that still goes in front of the board anyway after your decision is made, correct?
No.
Only if it's appealed,
If it's,
right.
yeah,
So I think you need to reference the covenants. And I'll look it up as well. Thank you.
Okay, responsibilities and duties.
Okay. Nobody had anything before 5?
Oh, I think we're on 5.
Well, no, it's section 5, bullet point number 1, bullet point number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay,
It's number
we're down to
5.
number 5.
Okay. And like I said, it says guide homeowners in the progress of the project or for efficiency and ease. And I think by saying guide, we're taking the responsibility of doing that. So it's something that if somebody comes and asks you something, it's fine, but I don't think you want to make yourself responsible for doing it.
Could I make a suggestion? Instead of guide, put down assist? Because that's what the committee does, right? You assist the homeowners. Right. Right.
Yeah,
So
By
I
using-
guess to the point, just, when we want to update the language, use the word guide, maybe provide assistance to, or, yeah,
Assist.
however you want to, just reword that just a little bit. On number 6, it says, report to the community association manager any observance of DRB rules. Do you really
I
want
had
that to be
some.
non-observance
I put non-compliance.
Yeah,
but
or
the same-
non-compliance?
Yeah,
or what-
that was my wording too.
Okay. Number 7. Number 8.
Can I add one more thing?
You want to add a 9?
Well, one of the things that, the other one we're going to look at, and I thought was a good idea, is to say that we review these charters on an annual basis. I think we started doing that on most of the other ones, and we didn't on this one.
Review the charter yearly.
I think the election committee is the only one that you have it on.
No, this next one says that they review the charter annually.
Yeah, it's on the golf committee one.
And I
It's on
think,
multiple
and I
ones.
think I put that on social as well. Do we want to put it here, I guess is the point? Or should it be part of the policy? I mean, 7 years is a little long. Especially with my signature on it, we got to get that off.
Are you suggesting that we review all the committees every year?
Every year, the committee should review their policy. And then if it's okay, just tell the board, yeah, it's fine, or whatever. That's what I did, at least. Because it's a dynamic situation. Look at the things that's changed since I did it.
Yeah.
And things change.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that, the committee policy as far as how members are selected and everything else, and see what language
See
is
if
in
that-
there, and then all the charters should
That's
just
what I was-
refer back to that document, unless there's something unique, like in the case of DRB,
Yeah.
where there's special exceptions for their committee. Okay. All right,
I'm all done.
okay. So we can
Thank you
mo-
for your patience.
And we're not doing any voting today, we're just discussing these items, so if we can close the discussion on the charter for DRB charter and move on to the golf committee charter.
Are you going to summarize what needs to be changed or updated, or is someone going to summarize that? So when we get it at the board meeting, we know that the things we talked about are done?
Well, I'm assuming since,
Are you going to,
Judy?
you take notes, I assume, and so when we look at it? Okay. Thank you.
all right, next up is the golf committee charter. Dan, is there any opening comments you want to make before we open up the whole discussion?
Yes, we had a meeting yesterday, and they're still working on some of the changes to this charter. Nothing real major, but they still have some changes that will be coming forward from Alex. So we really won't have a clean sheet until they're done with that. So I don't know if you still want to go over what we have in front of us or not,
Yeah, I think it'd
Jeff?
be worthwhile if there's any questions now, you
It'll
get back
help.
with the committee and ask them to review whatever questions or comments the board may have.
Okay. That's all I have right now after yesterday's meeting.
So if we, I think what Jeff suggested, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we review this as it is, and you can take back the things from here,
If there's a, yeah,
so they
To the
can
workshop.
incorporate whatever they're going
Okay.
to change. Does that make
That's fine.
sense?
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll start off with the first item under purpose. I mean, to me, I mean, looking at this was basically a complete rewrite of the purpose.
Oh, yeah, that goes
So
show it.
I was having a little bit of,
It was tough reading.
it was a tough read with all
Yeah.
the strike-throughs and
Especially in blue.
additions and,
Could they, when they send it back to us, could they use the design review technique? Again, this was tough. I had one question. The last sentence of the purpose, it says, "The role of the committee is oversight and advisory only. The Gulf Operation Committee primarily functions only in an advisory capacity and shall not," well, I think that's a redundancy and that should be gone. That's all they are, is oversight and advisory, and they restated the same thing again. One of the two should remain, but not both. That's all.
as I was reading through this, you know, the original language is what's in black there, so it says the role of the committee is oversight and advisory only. And then it goes, the original wording was, the committee shall not have spending or binding authority. I don't know if oversight is the right word, because oversight implies that they have decision-making authority, and to me, it says the role, it really should be something more along the lines of, the role of the committee is advisory only. The Golf Operations Committee shall not have spending or binding authority.
And I think that last sentence is the only one you need. The Gulf Operations Committee primarily functions only in an advisory capacity and shall not have any spending or binding authority.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I guess they're duplicating their effort by putting the role of the committee as oversight and advisory only. You might want to get rid of
Jeff,
that.
I'm not sure if you're here just as a resident or as a committee member? Both? All right, so do you want Dan to take notes, or you want to take some notes and go back? Dan, is that something? Can you
Okay.
take some notes there? So
Yep. So we still want to keep the, exactly what they're saying, with the, shall not have the spending or binding authority, just keep that in there also?
yeah, the next to last sentence, the role of the
Yep.
committee is oversight and advisory only. Probably ought to take that out, and then
Leave the
leave
other
the
sentence.
last sentence kind of as written. The Golf Operations Committee primarily functions only in an advisory capacity and shall not have spending or binding authority.
Okay. Done.
Any other comments on purpose? Okay, organization. Yeah, they did add in not less than 5, but up to 7 members. Okay, under responsibilities.
Well, here's where I have a whole bunch of stuff.
Can't hear you, Dick.
I have a few things here. Their recommendations made are being processed according to procedure. Issues regarding recommendations process are clarified and resolved. Their recommendations, there's no policy. I guess my feeling is if it's a recommendation and it turns into a policy, then they can follow up to make sure the policy is being followed. Being a recommendation doesn't mean, in fact, that they're going to go do it. Does that make sense?
Yep, I had the same concern.
Oh.
Because no, but I'm.
You let me stick my foot out there first.
I'm in agreement with you. I mean, this is significantly changes the scope of the responsibilities of the committee, and I don't think that's what is intended, is to make sure their recommendations are followed through on.
Exactly. And that'll lead us into, really need to put a policy together. What they have now is there's no policy of how to operate. I was going to bring that up later on. So I think the responsibilities need to be revisited.
Okay.
Anything else under responsibilities?
Well, yeah, I had some notes. I got to read them again. I'm reading between the blue lines. Give me a second, please. Well, then I define what a quorum is. The word quorum tells you it's a quorum. It's the majority of the board.
Right.
Sitting there defining what that is. There's no need to define that.
Well, they have 7 members. 4
Yeah.
would be a quorum.
Yeah, exactly. But
Right.
then they turned around, decided, and wrote it in there what a quorum is. They don't need to put that in there,
Right.
I wouldn't think. Would you?
Yeah, it's just excess verbiage.
That was what that's the thing I had. That's all I had there, I think. And then the last paragraph, they changed color on me. They went to green, or whatever it is. I don't know what that sentence means, that they're gonna, the Gulf Operations Committee will discuss current concerns that may exist regarding the Gulf operation and discuss other adjustments to the Gulf operation. I think that's what they do now. There's no need to put it in there as a separate line. Although it's in green, I don't know if the green was intended to.
Which sentence are you looking at?
The
On
last
second
sentence
page?
of next to the last of responsibilities. It didn't come out blue or
Okay.
black. It came out another color. I don't know. It looks
Okay.
like green. I mean, that's
So what are you questioning, Dick?
why even put that sentence in there.
The part that's in green or?
Yeah, the part
Yeah,
that's
that
in
part
green.
that's
Says
in
the
green.
Gulf Operations Committee will discuss current concerns that may exist regarding Gulf operations and
Okay.
discuss other adjustments to, and it's just,
It's what they do.
yeah.
But
I
just
think there was
cross that
some
out.
confusion before in that about what they should do as the Gulf Operations Committee. So I think they're trying to define what they're doing.
Well, they did that all the other paragraphs.
Yeah,
This is
it's in their purpose.
Yeah. Concerns may exist regarding the Gulf operation and discuss other adjustments to the golf course operations.
Okay. Dan, if you want to get back, you know,
Yeah, just take it back.
why did they feel it was important to add that in?
Okay.
Really don't see what it adds to the charter.
Okay.
Anything else for responsibilities? Next up is scope.
Okay, I'll go into that one too. Why do I want a scope? And that's part of the purpose. That's the same thing that the purpose just did.
I think, again, they're not proposing any changes here, but I think having section 4 scope in there is to kind of put some boundaries around what they should be looking at.
What they're responsible
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah, the
Golf,
overall scope of it. What
staff.
aspects of the golf course do they have, you know?
Staff changes is a little questionable.
Yeah, I think that whole section needs to be looked at because
Yeah, this,
it says they will oversee all aspects. Again, overseeing implies that they have authority, and that's really not the intention of any of the committees. It's to make recommendations, be an advisory group, not to have decision-making. So just, Dan, if they can go back and review that scope,
Okay.
that whole section. Terms of office,
yeah, we just talked about that. We probably
Right.
should be consistent with the policy.
exactly.
Now, can I,
All right, any
Step-
other questions, comments concerning the golf committee charter?
I'd like to step back a second and understand. When you read this, it's great, but I'm trying to look at the overall picture, if I could. The golf committee was established to ensure that the golf course is up to speed and keep an eye on things, basically. I don't, and take me if I'm wrong, I don't think they are a committee to tell them how to manage the golf course activities, as far as collections and expenditures and that kind of stuff. Their responsibility is basically, hey, keep us on our toes with the golf course, recommend how to maintain it to another level, whether it be redo the greens, sod some areas or whatever that stuff, or by 11, how to redo that, those kinds of things. Not to sit there and manage the golf course. Manage, when we say golf course, I'm saying golf course playable section versus managing the golf course as far as the billing, expenditures, staff, and those kinds of things. I don't think that's what the intent was. Maybe I'm wrong. But every time I keep reading this, they keep going back, hey, we're going to tell you how to run your business. They're not there to tell us how to run the business. They're there to help us maintain the golf course to a level that we can effectively do our business. I don't know if I explained that well enough.
Well, there are other things too that we talked about previously in the previous years, was what's being done and what's not being done. If there's things that should be done in the contract, or should be for upkeep of the
I don't think they're here.
stuff in the contract, or should be done, and it's not being done, then they need to bring that to their attention.
Exactly.
That's not telling them how to run it.
No, that's, I'm trying to separate
Exactly.
managing a golf course, physical golf course versus managing a business.
But
I believe they're there to manage the physical golf course.
if they have ideas about running it, it has to go through Alex. They should not be going to DT and telling them how to run it.
Exactly.
That's the problem we're having. Everything has to go through Alex and then me. And
Somehow
then-
we got
Then
to,
it comes to the board.
exactly where I'm coming at.
Right.
Somehow we got to convey that in this charter, because if I look at it in an overall sense, I get the sense that we're going to run this show, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to check everything out. They're there to manage in a general sense, DTE.
Maybe something has to be put in there that says, when they see something that they feel needs attention, that it has to go to Alex and then come forward to the board, if it should be.
That's exactly the way it should be, and that's the way most of it's been done. And the golf committee's doing a great job. I mean, they're bringing a
No,
lot of
nobody's
good
complaining.
points
They
up.
are.
Don't, I mean, we're not
not-
sitting here beating up the golf
No,
committee,
no,
because
that's
they
not
are
the
doing a
intent.
very good job.
Yes.
They're doing a good job. I mean, I can't say any
No,
more
I
about
agree.
that. But I believe we're going to have a sit-down between the parties and have the golf committee there, and Alex and myself and Jeff and Raymond, I believe it is. But we're going to have that meeting.
Yeah, maybe if we just made it that their primary contact was Alex, and
Well, that's what Alex is
something,
trying to do.
right,
Well,
exactly
that's what I'm saying,
And you should,
So-
you know,
Yeah.
the liaison should
Yeah,
be involved.
I get
certainly.
all the emails.
right.
And if I have any questions, I certainly bring them to the board.
So I think, let me see if I can recap. If I use DTE, who's maintaining the golf course, the golf committee is responsible to, hey, you're doing your job, you're doing what we want, and to come forward through Alex and the liaison, what needs to be done to improve the state of the golf course, if you will. Not to go in there and say, hey, you don't have enough rounds, you need to do this and sell this, and that's not their purview. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, they do work with Alex or Brian to make sure our revenue's up. Clayt is on the finance committee. He also watches over the rounds played,
Well,
the
yeah,
income and stuff
I'm
like
trying
that.
to separate the two.
Yeah, but he's on both, so
Yeah, so
he
he's,
brings it back to the golf committee to say, hey, we're doing better, we're doing worse. That's the only
and
thing.
that's
that-
fine, but
Yeah.
to tell him how to do what he's doing, that's up to Alex to work with him to get that.
Absolutely,
To give him ideas, that's a great thing, too.
absolutely.
So I think that somehow has to be conveyed in here. That it's basically the physical golf course control. I get a mixture of every time I
Yeah,
read
I
this
think,
thing.
I think the scope is the right place for that, is to set the boundaries. Here's
Yep.
your
clean up the
area that you're
scope.
to be looking at.
Period. Yeah.
It's not to be giving direct guidance to DTE or Brian or,
Let Alex and Dan work to get the things done properly.
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, this is just, this ain't going to be voted on probably until next month anyway, if it gets written properly through the golf committee. So
I think this is a
there'll
good
there'll be
start.
some
Don't get me wrong.
changes,
I-
and the golf committee's open to changes. They just want to know exactly where we want them to go.
and again, that's why we do these workshops, so we have a
Yeah.
chance to talk about
I
what.
they need to straighten my focus, because every time I read this, I kept getting it, they're gonna go into the knickers and tell her how to run her business, and that's not their intent. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, if we're all done there, we can move on next. That we have two recommendations from the golf committee that are on the agenda for discussion purposes. The first one is a recommendation that we set up a resident discount of 10%, and I believe it is just for soft goods. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, for soft goods, give residents a 10% discount on any hats, T-shirts, clothing articles that they would like to buy. Let everybody get out there with the SummerGlen logo and be proud of the community. So they want to offer a 10% discount.
Can we add free to the board members?
No, then you're getting paid. You don't
Well,
get
that's,
paid.
you're a resident too. But yeah, I think this is a move
good
that should have been
idea.
taken care of a long time ago. They have skin in the game, they're supporting the golf course. So the 10%, it went in front of Alex and it went in front of Brian, and they were both on board, and I think it's a positive move for the residents, in my opinion.
I like
I
the
think it's a
idea.
great idea.
Any questions that anybody has?
Yeah, I was one of that had suggested this idea. I've had some, along with Dan, and I've had some people actually come by that are non-golfers and say to me, I feel disconnected with the golf course. Yet, we all help support it.
That's right.
Okay? And the more people that walk around with shirts and hats that say SummerGlen, even if I bought one for a friend of mine that lives in Marion Oaks, I'd love to have him walk around with something that says SummerGlen.
Yeah.
I mean, it advertises the community. The more people that are, you know, appropriately dressing with something that says SummerGlen, whether it be a shirt, a hat, or a jacket, is great. And I think if we promote it, it would not cost us anything. If anything, it would increase sales,
Right.
which would certainly help. Not a big deal, but anything helps, you know.
Well, it also went through the Finance Committee, and it has no adverse effect on our financial status in any manner, so I don't see any negative to it.
Yes, go ahead.
That'll go in effect after our next board meeting.
Well,
if
yeah,
it's
we're not,
approved.
we're not voting today.
That's
but
correct.
We just
Right.
give everybody
I
a chance to
Just
ask
wanted
any
to let the
questions.
people know that, you know, can't rush out today. and
No,
buy
it-
10%.
assuming, you know, we'll put it on the board agenda
Yep.
for July, and assuming it gets approved, then we'll get a blast out to the community and the weekly, notifying people this is now available to them.
Great.
Yeah, sorry, the only question I have is the second from last sentence. I think you're trying to put a limitation on discount. You just gave, there was an example given there, if you purchase $2,000 worth of soft goods, the discount would only be $200, not pounds, which is also 10%. So I think what you're trying to drive at is, you know, no matter how much a resident spends, he's only going to get 10% if he's a non-golfer. Is that correct?
No, I think what they were saying, they're trying to quantify the potential dollar impact. So right now, they're saying if residents purchase $2, not a single resident, but if residents in general purchase $2,000 worth of soft goods, it would be a $200 discount. So if we didn't increase sales at all, it could be potentially a $200 loss of revenue. But I think additional sales will more than offset that. And
It's really just quantifying what the effect could be. You know.
it wasn't trying to say an individual person buying $2,000. It's just meant cumulatively, if the residents were to buy $2,000 over a year's time, the dollar impact would be only $200.
Okay, just my interpretation. Okay, thank you.
Anything else on that item? Okay, the second recommendation they had was putting together a formal medical leave policy concerning golf memberships.
That again was discussed yesterday, and they're going to have some different wording on that. So it's just the medical leave that is in effect right now. It's for any member that is equity members, and I don't know what all the people that were covered under
Grandfathered members.
the grandfather members. Everybody that was in there gets a medical leave one time, and they can be on leave as long as they possibly have to be. The reason is we got one guy that about 5 years ago hurt his back. He's been on medical leave ever since. He paid for the whole year before he got hurt, but he only used half of the year. So he really still has half a year credit coming to him. And I don't know if this gentleman will be back playing, but he's protected under those old rules. And I wanted to make sure the golf committee knows that, and we continue to protect him or anybody that's already been
In the same
approved.
situation, yeah.
But they're trying to do away with the social membership, as if you want to just go on social membership, you can still play and not pay the dues.
That's
That they're changing that to, if you don't use it in that year and you're not on medical leave, and if you don't re-sign up in November for that membership, you lose your membership after that.
Yeah, the social membership thing, that it's one of the things that they have they're in discussion on, but it isn't before us right now. Just the medical leave portion is
Yes.
in front of us right now.
Well, I'm on the last page of it with medical leave of absence.
Yeah, that's the actual policy that
Okay.
they're proposing.
When I look at that, they're saying, I think we have a HIPAA concern here. It says the leave may be reviewed by the Golf Operations Committee for its recommendation on the final decision being made by the golf management. I don't believe, because they're saying that you have to actually have a letter from a licensed physician.
Correct.
And I think from a HIPAA perspective, the only one that should be allowed to see anything like that would be the golf operations manager. Because when you have an entire committee looking at something, there's always a chance that's going to become something that is exposed. I think it's a HIPAA concern. They should know that there is a letter from the medical physician, but they should not have access to reading it.
Well, it doesn't say that.
Doesn't
No, it
say
does.
What you're suggesting is that it be defined better.
Well,
Pardon?
it said, the one
doesn't
sentence does
say
say, the leave may be reviewed by the Golf Operations Committee for its recommendation.
But if you
But it
take
says
leave,
that right after saying a request for a medical leave of absence should be made in writing to the golf operations manager
Yeah.
and be accompanied by a certification
but
letter
if
from a
she
licensed
approves
physician.
the leave, she doesn't have to attach the medical
Okay,
certificate.
so we have to make sure
That-
that's not
That's why I
happening.
said you may want to clarify leave, because Jeff interpreted it as having a packet. I interpret it as, no, that packet's not going there, just the form saying he requested a leave, and I approved it. So I
Right.
think we need to clarify
Yeah,
that
there
a
needs
little
to be
bit.
some kind of clarification there.
Well, can I say
protect the
something
person.
about the HIPAA as far as medical? I was involved when we were in the transition of that and the violation of the insurance companies and the doctors and their staff, and they were spreading it all over the place. So that was the main intention of HIPAA. But again, when you're involved with a case, there's need to know. So need to know would be if the committee had to make a decision on something, it's not a violation of HIPAA because they're dealing with the case. So then it would be Alex, the golf operations manager, and maybe the chairperson for the golf committee.
That decision, I believe, from reading this and what Dan has said, that decision is made by the golf operations manager.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Period.
I'm saying if
You
it's
don't have a
discussed.
committee. No, you don't have a committee.
Well, what is going to be discussed? If there's a physician letter that says this person is medically incapable of
Exactly.
playing golf,
That's it.
what is discussion is there
That's
to
what I'm saying.
have?
That-
There's no
he's-
violation, there's no
that's-
violation of
Exactly.
HIPAA.
That, you suggested that they had a committee to make that decision. I'm saying there's no decision to be made. The golf operation manager with the letter and the individual says yes or no. And that's it.
It goes to Alex, the way I look at it, it goes to Alex. She gets the medical report from the doctor. She just tells the golf committee, I have somebody that's applying for medical. I have the medical records from the doctor. The
And that's
committee
it.
don't have to see the medical doctor.
Exactly.
Why do they even need to know
They
about
don't
it?
need, well, just so they know that he's on leave. So the golf shop has to know that.
Well, the-
Once you go
well,
on
the golf
medical
shop
leave,
has
you
to know,
can't
but I
go-
don't understand why the golf committee has a
That's
need
a-
to know.
I agree with you.
No,
There's no need for them to know.
Okay, I mean, that's,
yeah.
I'm
I
fine.
mean, why should they have to review it?
There
The
should be no,
manager, if it
Exactly.
meets the qualifications with the letter, that's it.
Well,
Remember,
that's what I
we
was
talked
saying.
about the golf committee's responsibilities, the golf course.
Yeah.
Not the person playing the golf.
So,
Can
so
I
what
ask a
you're,
question?
what
Has-
you're
has
boiling
this-
it down to is Alex gets the okay. She lets Brian know that he's on medical
Medical
leave.
leave.
And when you're on medical leave, you cannot play golf.
correct.
Because that, once you play around the golf, you're off medical leave.
Correct.
Right.
So and that has to be understood, that Brian has to know.
And that's the piece that we probably should check to see how he manages that,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So that's managed through the management company,
Yeah.
not the
Not the committee.
advisory.
Right.
Does that make
Okay.
sen's?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Dan, can I ask a question? Sorry. Has this system been abused in the past?
It's being abused now by 7 or 8 people that are taking leave and still playing golf. They, for some reason, for some reason, it went through the cracks, and that's what they're trying to eliminate right now. These 6 or 7 people that were members before, and they're saying they're on medical leave and they're waiting, they didn't join again. So they're trying to eliminate that, which is in the documents. If you ask for medical leave, you can't play golf.
Correct.
That's the
Oh,
whole
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
So they're
okay.
trying
Right.
to eliminate these 6 or 7
Yeah,
people.
the only thing that I was looking at the necessity to get a letter from a licensed physician. I mean, obviously, it's serious enough for us to actually consider that. I mean, normally, if someone can't play golf, it's going to be obvious that they're hobbling around on one leg or their back aches or something. So, for you to have to put this in here, this must be pretty serious. Is that correct? Because of the abuse. I'm just trying to see why you would need to get this personal level of I've just had a hip replacement and have that in a letter given to the golf operations manager.
But-
I mean, what you're asking for, I don't disagree with, but it just seems to me you're getting to a very personal level of wanting evidence.
When the golf course was owned by the equity members, they had a policy on this, and this is kind of a rewrite of that policy.
Okay.
When the HOA took over the golf course, purchased the golf course from the equity owners, this policy didn't get created. I think it does need to exist. Whether it's being abused, I wouldn't necessarily say it's being abused, but some people are
Creative.
creating the need that we need to institute this.
Yeah. Okay. It's just for me the actual personal involvement of getting certified letters and stuff like that, to prove that you're ill or unfit to play is kind of, and we actually have that information, seems rather deep. But if that's necessary because of past abuse, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And also, it needs to be clear that they cannot be using golf facilities if they're on a medical leave. You can't go out and play a round of golf. Oh, I feel pretty good today. I think go out and play. No.
The other thing, Raymond, if you look at it, there are 60 grandfathered approximately. That's 10%. And that's not counting the people who are abusing the social system.
And dwindle.
Yeah. But
Okay. So when if I book a round of golf, my name comes up on the T-Snap thing. So these people also likely, do these people also come up on the T-Snap system?
yeah, they put their name in.
Okay.
So doesn't that raise a red flag to us? Hey, you're abusing your system. Don't we immediately kind of disqualify them from doing that? I don't know.
If you bottom line it, all you have to do is, Alex has to have a list of the people that are on medical leave. And I don't know how she'll get that from years ago because she wasn't here and neither were they. But if the golf committee may have members in it that knows people that went out on medical leave. So if Alex composes a list of medical leave personnel, she hands that to Brian, and Brian says, hey, John Joe played golf last week, and he has it documented because someplace John Joe had to have paid because he wasn't now considered a member. If that name pops up there, you have black and white, John played when he shouldn't have been able to play. He just violated his medical leave. You got to do what you've got to do. So that would be between Alex and Brian to handle that.
This is going to take effect come November 1 of this coming year. You
Right.
can't do much about it if that's already been passed. So what they're saying is the people, these 5 or 6 people that are getting around the system, if they don't pay their dues in November, they no longer will be protected in.
Right.
That's all they're saying. They're going to eliminate them 6 people. They got to join or not. Okay?
Sounds good.
The critical path here is Brian managing it
Correct.
through T-SNAP.
Right.
And I believe there's a key in there somewhere that he can put medical leave, and when they put his name in that he's playing, it pops up and says, hey, no, 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 no. So that needs to be verified, but I think that's what you're trying to get to.
Right.
Thank you, Dan. Before we get off this topic,
Well, just a second, I was going to say, while we're still talking about this, as far as summary, so you're not talking about taking that whole sentence out. You're just saying that the leave will be reviewed and make the final decision being by golf management, which is Alex, right? You're not saying take out the whole sentence.
The golf committee, as of yesterday, is going to rewrite that.
Okay,
Okay, so there's no use even to trying to adjust what we
Okay.
have in front of us. They're going to make a.
all right. But golf
Some
management
changes.
is Alex, though,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Right.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
reference to the Golf Operations Committee should be taken out of there because
Yeah.
they need to be out of the loop.
Yep.
Okay.
may I jump in on something similar to this?
No,
No, it's part of this.
okay, as long as it's part of this, yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
look, it's like I was looking at the whole charter, I'm looking at this. We've been talking different pieces of a policy that we don't have for the golf. And what I'm suggesting is that we take these pieces and start putting them together into a policy and build on the policy. Because right now, we don't have a medical leave policy. We're going to try to create one page for that, one page for the other thing. And I have a list when we tried to do some other stuff, like extensions, seasonal, annual, whether we can extend or not, like social membership. We've been talking about that. We already had pro shop discounts. And I have rain checks. Those military first responder, how we handle those people. I think if we can try to take that and make one policy of those things that we started, I don't have the date, but some time ago, I know Clayton had, and I said, gee, this is the same stuff we've been talking about. We probably should try to get something into place before the next budget cycle. But we can take this piece out and have a policy specifically for these kinds of
Right.
specialties, if you,
Yeah, rather than having separate policy for each individual item.
Yeah.
I agree. That makes sense.
so I think if they could look at that, and if Clayton wants a copy of what he gave me before, I'm sure he has it, he's good at, maybe he can consolidate some of these other things that are gonna come up.
Yeah, I don't think he's looking to get this fixed to this month or next month.
No, but
As
he's
long as
got,
it's fixed by October.
well, he needs to have it fixed by August,
Well,
because
he
that's when the
could.
budget cycle starts, at least have the nucleus of this thing in place.
Well, that's not, it's not going to change the budget that much. I mean, what we're talking about here.
Well, this one item, I agree, but as
I
far as
agree.
what Dick's saying, as far as the overall golf membership policy and
Yeah.
setting of rates and all that other.
Oh, yeah, that has nothing to do with. the
But
fee.
we can break it out and just have one for all these things that we're talking about, and
I
the
agree.
rate can be a whole different policy,
Make it simple.
but something to think about. I'm sorry, thank you.
Dan, one question I have is, in the original, in the equity ownership membership policy, it talked about a one-time only. What they're proposing here is once per year.
One time, the policy that's in effect through the original documents was a one-time. You can only use it
I know,
one
but
time.
what they're saying here is a
They wanna
member
use
can
it
only
for 1
take
year.
one medical leave per golf
No,
year.
No, that's can't be. We can't change it every
Okay,
year.
because that's
You
the
know,
way
we
it's
have to-
written now.
That's why we have to go over that
Okay.
again. And I think I pretty much explained that yesterday at the meeting, and they're reworking that. So that's
Okay.
why I say some of this stuff will be all reworked
Okay,
for you.
that's good. Okay, next up is CRF 2022-00262, conversion of the gas streetlights up the main boulevard to a solar LED option.
Could I ask a question in the very beginning of it before we go down through it? If I remember right, at one of our board meetings, there was something about the gas bill, and that we pay a set amount and they don't have a meter that breaks it out. So what happens with that if we switch to solar? Are we still going to be paying that gas bill, or have we found a solution to that?
Well, there was a contract for it. We had a contract for both the gas that's used for the swimming pool heaters and spa heaters, as well as the RSO kitchen, that's on one electric bill. Then the gas streetlights are on a separate bill, and we did not renew the long-term contract for the gas streetlights. We went to a month-to-month so we can make this conversion without having to wait a full end of a contract year.
Okay,
So we have a conference call, Tom and myself and Alex have a conference call with one of the gas companies, because there are actually two gas companies involved. One is the provider of the gas, and the other one is the transportation of the gas. So, yeah, so we asked them to come out, because we couldn't find the meter. We were trying to understand the bills, and we couldn't find a meter, so we asked them to come out and do a meter locate for us. The guy came out and said, oh, no, you don't have a meter for that. There was a calculation done based on the type of gas street lights that are out there, the mantles and everything else. There was a calculation with the assumption that it was going to be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, every single mantle lit. And that's what they bill us as a flat calculated rate based on that. So anytime we have a mantle go out and we go off and shut off the gas to that individual lamppost, it does nothing to reducing our gas bill, because we get billed the exact same number of therms every month. The only thing that fluctuates is the price of the natural gas itself.
so if we do a conversion, we can get rid of that completely? There's not going to be an issue doing that?
Well, we don't know yet. We're still pursuing that.
Okay,
But one of the other things he did inform us is not only is there not a meter, but there is not a main shutoff for that branch that goes up the main boulevard. In order to shut off the main boulevard, if there were ever to be a reason why maintenance work needed to be done on the underground gas line, they'd have to shut off gas to the entire community.
Wow.
There is no branch shutoff valve for coming up the main boulevard.
I can't imagine it would be that difficult to put one in at the end.
That's one of the things we need to discuss, because,
Right,
we can
okay.
shut off each individual post, but we can't, that still leaves a pressurized gas line that runs
Coming
up
in.
the whole main boulevard.
Yeah.
Well, I think-
Okay.
I think that main line is what feeds all the homes too,
yeah.
is my
So-
guess.
Don't know how those
I-
gas
it's-
lines
it's-
was
it's
laid, but I would
interesting.
assume, but it might be a bad assumption,
Yeah.
that there is a branch line that runs up the boulevard servicing the lights.
So this basically is premature because we don't even know if we can successfully do it.
We don't know if we can, in the preliminary conversations we've had, is we can stop the gas service.
Yeah,
We
but,
can't actually physically shut off, other
No.
than each individual post. But all indications are right now that when we say we're done, then the billing would end for the gas streetlights. Still be gas pressure in the gas line at that point, but we would no longer receive a bill. Not 100%, we don't have it in writing yet, but that's what we've
Okay.
pursued so far.
And there may be a shut-off valve that we are not aware of, or they are
They are not aware of
not
either.
aware of. Yeah,
But,
because
I mean, the guy that came out,
anytime that you're, like when I worked for the phone company, worked with power, worked with gas companies and that a lot of times when they were running a feed off of the main line, they had to shut off because they couldn't stand. If something went wrong, you had to have shut off from the main pressure line. So anyway, that would be my question for the people.
yeah, it would make sense that there should be one, but the guy was not able to locate it, and so he warned us, he said, don't think you can shut that off without shutting off the entire community.
That's,
Yeah, our goal in the conference call that we're going to have tomorrow afternoon is to stop the gas billing, okay? When we're ready to stop it. And as soon as we're ready to stop it, believe me. It's $2,200 approximately a month, and I can tell you that we're probably only using 50 to 60% of the gas that we're being billed for.
When you have the meeting tomorrow, can't we just stop it tomorrow? I mean, it's not giving us any light, half of the lights are out. Why keep paying the bill if we're not using, or not getting the lighting that we're supposed to be getting from it. My question would be, if you have this
Wouldn't
meeting
happen that
tomorrow.
quick.
Turn them all off.
Pretty much off anyway.
Yeah, I mean, why,
It creates a potential liability issue for the community, because even though they don't provide much light, they do provide some light. If somebody were to have a trip and fall accident after we shut off the gas, and they wanted to sue the homeowners association, it would be, well, why did you shut off the gas? Oh, we were trying to save some money, without having an alternative in place. So I don't want to create a liability situation for the HOA.
okay.
Yeah, the idea, Dan, would be to be able to stop the gas billing when we say we want to stop with a month notice or whatever, so we can coordinate putting in new lights, whether it's solar lights or whatever, and control stop the billing legally.
Do we have any idea if, how far down the road that would be, approximate? Do we have any idea at all yet, if we went with the solar?
Everything, right now, again, the quote is, how old now? But at the time, everything was in stock, so if we were to place an order, it's, shipping is included. So I don't know if it had a expected lead time on the quote or not, but everything was supposedly in stock.
Okay,
So realistically, I'd say if we approve this at the July board meeting, we could probably have something certainly in place before the end of September,
Okay, so
if not. I mean,
Yeah.
again,
you'd save
it
about
depends on,
6,800 for this year, or 6,600.
yeah, so in actual numbers, in 2021, our gas bill for the gas streetlights was just under $21,000. In 2022, it was $25,200, and for 2023, it's budgeted for just under $26,000.
wow.
Just for the gas streetlights. But we have to have an alternative ready to go in place. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is the solar option, LED lights to come up the main boulevard to replace all the gas lights.
You know, about a year ago, I got involved in this, and there was two significant options. One, obviously, is solar. The other one was LED lights that replace the gas mantles in there. The problem with that is it requires electric up over 3,000 feet and up the middle. And we have not had a lot of success in getting any company to tell us what that would be, what the cost would be. You can get Seco to put their own lights in, but they'll charge you 60 to 80,000 plus amount each month. That would probably be close to the 20,000 we're paying, so that's not a good alternative. So really the most feasible option is to go with solar, which we can control the installation of.
Okay, so going with solar is our best option, you're saying? And then my question would be, from a financial perspective, where does this fall?
Well, there is a reserve item in the $30,000 range to replace the gas lights. So for
Okay.
the most part, it would be totally covered by a reserve item, and the cost would be reasonably close to the reserve. It might be a little bit more, because
Well, the cost-
labor is an issue that we have
Yeah,
to,
the
how to
installation
install.
portion would put us over, but
Yeah, I added the parts and the labor together, and it comes to 39,548.96. So it comes to close to 40,000, $400 short of 40,000. So if we have reserves of 30, and that leaves us 10,000 short for it. But if we turned it off in September, you'd get 6,000 of that back. So in reality, you'd be only $4,000 over budget by doing the.
Yeah, and even if the reserve amount, since all our reserves are pooled reserves, even though the reserve is 32,000, if it
Right.
costs you 40, it would still go against the reserve.
Right,
So the out-of-pocket cost would not be an expense item, but the savings would be immediately once we cut off the gas billing.
right. I just wanted to make sure I understood the financial piece of it. Thank you.
No, that's fair. So I think the recommendation in the final, I know there's some old quotes with my name on it from a year ago, but the latest is the using a triple light and replacing the posts, I believe.
Correct, yeah. So it has gone through a number of iterations. Again, Tom mentioned about the electric up the main boulevard. There was some thought that potentially there was electric there at one time. So we did have a company come out and search for that, and they were not able to locate any sign of any electric that ever came up through that main boulevard. So that's not panning out. We'd have to run all new lines for that if we went to regular electric as opposed to the solar. So the original two-head fixture that's still out there on the main boulevard, right out in front of where the horse is, yeah, that one's the two-head that's out there being tested right now. What's being proposed is actually a third head unit, a three-head unit. Yeah, three-head unit is what's being proposed. And the standard pole is only a 6.5-foot pole. They're proposing that we go with a 10-foot pole. So they actually offer a 6.5, an 8, and a 10-foot pole. What's being proposed is a 10-foot pole, and then the fixtures themselves are another 19 inches. So the top of the fixtures under this proposal would be almost 12 feet in the air. So we will probably have to do after a while, not right away, but we'll see how the recharging works with some of the shade canopy there. It's from the trees. There may have to be a little bit of tree trimming done. But again, many of the lights aren't even under the tree canopy. There's 22 total poles now. I didn't do, again, an exact count on how many are exposed to broad, but probably close to 50% of them are already not even under the shade canopy. So there should be no problem with charging.
Okay, so if they're solar, I assume they're batteries. The batteries have any, solar batteries have any lifetime, and what's
Yep.
the cost?
Yeah,
to
they
replace
do.
them?
Yeah, they do. And there are 4 batteries in each light fixture. So there's 3 light fixtures on each
12.
post, so that's 12
Okay.
batteries. So there's a total of 264 batteries involved. Current pricing is $33.99. They have an estimated life of 5 years, so just under $9,000 would be the cost to replace all 264 batteries. So if an estimated 5-year life, so it'd be about $1,800 per year of operating costs for replacing the batteries over time, as compared to
Okay,
the $26,000 of gas.
So we just have to make sure we included it in our budget.
Absolutely.
Do we have that in our packet?
No, I just, but as I was
No.
getting ready for today's meeting, I put all that information
He was ready
together.
for my question.
Okay.
You were ready for my question.
Well, it was, I wanted to know the same thing, is are we really going to save any money? And, yeah, there's going to be quite a substantial, I mean, if we proceed with this project, it's going to have a payback in less than 2 years. And from there, it'll just keep saving us money each and every year.
Yeah,
The one thing that we do have to still resolve is installation, because these light fixtures and poles are assuming you're starting with a greenfield site and just digging a hole and pouring concrete and putting anchors. We're not going to be doing that. We're going to be retrofitting it onto the existing pads that exist for the light poles that we have out there now. So what we're looking at is using stainless steel wedge anchors. Going to require hammer drilling to come in there and drill in there. So we need to get some quotes. There's really no electrical work that needs to be done. It's all just general contractor type work. So someone like a Carruthers Concrete Company or any of the fence companies out there that do fence post installation would be capable of doing that. So we need to get quotes for the installation of these 22 poles if we decide this is the route we want to go. That's one piece we don't have. We do have a quote from Ferguson, but a lot of that is labor, and it's electrician's labor time. We don't need an electrician. We need something more general labor type work.
well, that's where I came up with the 40,000, because that was the only quote
Yeah, that's the
I
only quote
had.
we have at this point, but we need to get additional quotes. But, at this point, we want to make sure we answered all the board's questions, make sure this is the route we want to pursue, and then we'll get more detailed quotes for installation of the posts.
have
Jeff, can you send that to the rest of the board?
Sure.
Please,
Yep.
thank you.
I have a few questions, I guess. I'm a anal when it comes to charts. I'd like to see a chart depicting the cost of the alternatives instead of having to wade through all of this, even though I pieced some of it together. And you have other stuff that we didn't have. Secondly, I was able to obtain the results of the current solar panel to what we're doing today. And the existing, I think, how high is that one? 8 feet?
The current ones?
Yeah, the one we're testing.
Oh, the one we're testing, no, it's probably close to 10 foot.
Okay, so
I don't have the exact measurement, but it's,
10 feet's fine. The existing, when it was there at the curb, it was 1.6 to 1.8 lux. Don't ask me what lux means, but as long as they're all compared to the same, I'm happy. The street lights are 21.6. We're not going to compete with the street lights. The LED, if we did an LED, is 1.3 to 1.4. Solar is 3.6 or 3.8 on a cloudy, stormy day. That's almost three times what we're getting with the existing gas lights. At the center aisle, it was 0.1 to 0.2, and the solar was 0.9 to 1.1. That's a two of them. That's not three.
that's right, yeah.
Okay? Already, we've increased the lighting that we've been accustomed to significantly. And I'd like to see that chart. Maybe we can extrapolate, if we put three, what it would be, instead of a two light or two pole, whatever you call those things. 2 solar lights versus 3, because you're recommending 3. Do we really need 3? And we should have quotes for 2 and 3, see what the impact would be, I would think.
Well, the F&G's approach to this was twofold. One is it's cost us a lot of money for gas. Is there a more economical alternative out there? And number 2, the gas streetlights provide very little illumination. So what can be done to improve the amount of illumination provided? So I think they've satisfied both. They've come up with an alternative that's a cost savings and improves the lighting. So to me, again,
Well, they improved the lighting
we
with 2.
can come up with a worksheet that shows numbers, but why would we go with the 2-light option that really doesn't give us that much more light than what we already have, with a 3-light option actually provides some true illumination for the main boulevard?
The question I have is it necessary, number 1? Number 2 is how much more light you're going to get in the main boulevard. I don't know what that is. We've only
50% more.
tested 2. Huh?
2 versus 3, it's adding a 3rd light gives you 50% more illumination.
Well, you might think so. I mean, logically it says that. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well,
But if I'm going to sit down in the middle and I'm going to double what I have now, and we've been used, in the middle, I have a problem because your headlights are on. At the intersections, I think 3 is very important, where you make your turns, to have more light.
I don't think it's for the cars, though. I think it's more for the people walking.
Yeah, but people walking now are getting 0.1, and we're going to give them all the way to 1. That's a heck of a lot of an increase.
okay,
Is that
I
sufficient?
understand what you're saying. We'll put together a cost comparison.
That's all I'm
Yeah, keep in mind that each light of the 3-light fixture, each light is independent of each other. So if you've got 2 compared to 3, you're definitely going to get a 50% increase because they operate independently. They all have their own batteries. They all have their own photocells. They also have their own photocell to turn it on or off. So there might be, in the beginning, people may see 1 globe on or 2 globe on, and a minute later, the 3rd one goes on. They're all independent, but that should be at a minimal, you know.
Yeah. No, I have,
No.
we'll put the package together, but it's,
Everybody else has stuff.
each individual light is 300 lumens. So a two-head one is 600 lumens, a
The other
three-head
one's
one is
900
900 lumens. So it's 50% more.
That's what we need to see on the
Okay, so
chart. That's all.
$300 times 22 units, so it's about $6,000 difference. $6,600 difference. But we'll put together a spreadsheet that shows
Well,
that for when we,
It's important that we shouldn't have to be wading through all of this to figure it out. I'd like to see a chart that has that information, then if I want to look at the detail, I could look at it.
well, the whole idea of the workshops is to bring all the board members up to speed with all the work that's been done, whether it's F&G or DRB or whoever's been working on it. So this is presented so you have an indication of, they didn't look at just one thing, they looked at multiple things, sending the whole package to everyone, and they've done the evaluation, and this is what their recommendation is. So this gives everybody a chance to ask questions about the recommendation. I understand what you're saying about cost comparison, so we can
Put that together.
provide that together. We already have the information, so
Yeah, I'd like
we
to,
can just put it into a nice summary page for whenever we get ready to vote on it. Sure.
so what you're saying to us is if I go from 2, if you will, to 3, because I've just added another light, can I tell the difference? If I go from 1 to 1.5, can I tell the difference? Okay. To 1? Well, yeah, if a car drives by, yeah, okay. That's what I'm just trying to understand. Thank you, Roland.
Okay, Jeff, if I look at the sheet that gives the pricing where we end up with the dollar amount on here, it says the Imperial 3 triple head solar light, and then the 10-foot pole and an extra top for 97K, whatever that is. Anyway, bottom line is, that's spare parts. But does that include everything we need to install, hook the two of them together, put them in the hole, and put them up, other than the concrete?
No. No, so what, if you look at the quote,
Well,
what's
I know
missing
the
here
labor.
is sales tax, so we got to add 7% sales tax to this number also.
Okay,
Then the installation, we will be providing the street light, the solar lights themselves, and the poles. Whoever does the installation will be buying the anchors and doing all the installation work.
okay, so we need to make sure that whatever anchors and bolts, nuts, whatever he needs, is something that is going to last as long as this
Yes,
pole is
yeah,
going to last.
yeah. Tom Hudgens has already been involved with this, has had conversations with the manufacturer of this equipment, and we've still need to determine the final diameter, the bolt size, but there'll be stainless steel wedge anchors that will provide longest possible life.
Okay,
Lynn, I can tell you, if you go online and look at stainless steel anchors that would, 4 per pole, because you only need them for per pole, you're probably talking $200 from Amazon.
And
or
it's
from
actually,
her.
depending on what diameter we end up with,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I just wanted to make sure that we were taking everything into consideration.
oh yeah, yeah, that'll be part of the quote. They'll provide the hardware and we'll specify that it must be certain
Okay,
diameter,
that'll be in the
bolt
scope
size,
of
and
work.
stainless steel, and
That'll be in the scope of work. with
Yes.
them. Okay.
Yeah, the hardware that comes with the poles are designed to be used when you create a new concrete pad. They've reviewed the existing pads, and there's no reason why we can't use the existing pads.
Yeah, if you look at the Ferguson quote, they're actually proposing pouring a new concrete pad on top of the existing one. We're not going that route.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Can't think of anything else I wanted to ask.
all right, so we'll put together, I'll get a spreadsheet out to everybody that compares the 2-head versus the 3-head, and we'll start working on getting quotes for the installation portion, so we'll have that hopefully to the board in time for the July meeting, so we can get this gas shut off.
You're going to run this by Facilities Finance Committee as well? There's nothing, it just says spend $2,000. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on that item? Okay, next up is CRF 2023-0023 for the Florida Friendly Garden. So I'll summarize what this is. So this is the Florida Friendly Garden, which is over by the softball field and the bocce courts. It's approximately 1,500 square feet. So what is being proposed in this CRF is to remove the existing bark mulch that's there, lay down a weed barrier fabric, and then install new shredded mulch rather than the bark mulch. So the quotes that they had provided, there's several different quotes. One is for almost $4,400 from Floorlawn, and then there's Heaven Sent, which is about $3,200, and then the third option that they looked at was doing a do-it-yourself project and just buying the materials and having volunteers take out the old mulch, repurpose it over by the garden area where individuals have vegetables growing, repurpose it over there, and then put down the paper, weed barrier paper, and spread the mulch out. So estimated cost of the do-it-yourself project is around $1,000.
Well, do we know who the volunteers are? I mean, do we actually have volunteers at this point?
I don't have a list of names, but I got an email from, or a text message from Tom Hudgens and said, hey, just so you're aware for the meeting today, that he's working on lining up volunteers, and some of the members of the garden club would be possibly on that list of potential volunteers.
Yeah, we were the ones that originally did it when I was on the garden club.
Okay. But yeah, so we'll, hopefully when we get ready to vote on this in July, we'll have a list of actual names of people who have stepped forward and said they'd be willing to do it if we went the do-it-yourself route.
33, yeah, $3,300 would be a pretty big savings
Yeah,
if we get enough
2,200,
volunteers to
yeah.
do it.
right.
Well, is the edging already, that they have no edging, I believe, but is the edging included? Do you know?
No,
I didn't see edging there.
no, the only thing,
But I think they already did edging.
there is edging already there.
Okay, so I remember Tom putting new edging in. That's why I just wanted to verify that.
Okay, so,
Okay. What about staples for the landscape, which is minor, but the fabric, you staple it down as you go along. That's peanuts anyway.
well, I'm just curious, I mean, especially if we go with the $1,000 for them doing it, why is it coming to the board for a vote?
We're not voting on it.
No,
Well,
it's
we've
not
got to
today,
approve
it's
the
today
buying the
it's a
materials.
discussion.
Well,
No, it's $1,000. If
What?
it falls under maintenance, it's,
The board
yeah,
has to approve the volunteers to do the work.
okay,
And they have to sign a waiver.
yeah.
So again, we have it on, that's why we have it on the workshop, so we can discuss and ask those type of questions. So,
Yeah.
With these numbers that we see in front of us, it's pretty concerning that, to me, Florida lawn is so much higher than even the other bit. Or would they getting a little too friendly with us and they're just jacking things up? I mean, it's very concerning. I mean, you're talking about, what, over $1,000 difference?
Yeah,
yeah,
Florida lawn usually is.
Well,
well, that's why we
Exactly.
go out and get multiple bids.
that's right, exactly.
Mhm.
I think we need to do that as much as possible, as we have been.
I agree, Dan.
Mhm.
They're getting a little too comfortable.
Just like our pool company.
Okay, so are any questions concerning, so the recommendation that's being put forward is to go with the do-it-yourself project, and we would just be approving letting volunteers do the work and then providing the $1,000 to get the materials to do the job. Okay? No other questions? That concludes the new business agenda items. I'll then open it up now to director input. Tom, you want to start? Is there anything you have?
Nope, I'm okay.
Raymond?
Just keep supporting our clubs, please. Thank you.
Dan?
Yeah, the one thing I want to comment on is the pool. I'm up there pool quite a bit, and I can't tell you the difference between when the pool company was managing our pool and the in-house now. They are doing a phenomenal job. And again, the people that brought this to light, I want to thank them. And there's so many people that I'm not going to start naming names, but you know who you are. It was very, very well done, and it's saving us quite a bit of money over the months. So my hat's off to the people that brought this to our attention, and we got it done.
I would like to add to Dan's, I think they're doing an excellent job. Everybody I've talked to about that goes to the pool on a regular basis is thrilled with the care that the pool's getting now. The only concern I have is, why did we already have to replace the button for the 15-minute timer? Is somebody still breaking that?
They haven't broken the button. They kept overturning the turn knob, so we had to have this one specially made. They
Yep.
make push buttons, but they're longer than 15 minutes. So to be in compliance with DOH, we had to have a special one made just for 15. So no, that one hasn't been broken yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For whatever
Knock on
reason,
wood.
people thought the harder they turned it, the longer time they'd get out of it, and
Oh,
just
okay.
kept breaking it.
So now you have a push button. So
Right.
if they push it twice, it doesn't break it?
Nor does it reset. It actually times out at the end of 15 minutes, or
Oh,
it's
good.
plus or minus a few seconds here or there, but
Might want a
it
little.
times out at 15 minutes. They have to get up out of the spa and go over and hit the button to
Yeah.
restart it.
You might want to put a little sign there that says pushing twice doesn't help.
No, no signs.
Ah, That's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
Dick?
I just want to remind everybody that they're having a July 4th, the social committee, and tickets will be on sale next week. Pulled pork and chicken sandwiches, plus all the servings. Second thing is NOAG, New Owner Assessment Advisory Group, is meeting tomorrow at 9. Tom has been invited to give them some input. They're working, they're closing down on things. I sent some information to other board members to get their final input so we can try to focus on giving the board information that's palatable. Sometimes when you have a book full of information, you need to put it down in some sort of easy to read and digest. And that's what we're working on at this point with their recommendations. Notice I pluralized that. They will give us two alternatives at least, hopefully, pros and cons in every decision they're recommending to the board. You also, all board members also received a board packet to review. Please review it and get back to me if you would. Just a reminder. Otherwise, thank you very much for all your help and support.
I think I have one question. Do they run a 50/50 during that?
You know, I sent them an email to ask that question. I haven't got a response yet. I would think
It's
it
a
makes
moneymaker.
sense. It makes sense to do that. Hal Dodd will be the DJ, by the way.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Gary's not here?
Make a
Make
motion
the
that we
motion, we
adjourn.
adjourn for the day.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so next board meeting is scheduled for July 13th at 9:30 a.m. here in the Grand Hall. Tentative workshop date for July would be July 27th, and then the August meeting would be August 10th for future meetings coming up. So at this time, I'll open up the floor for any resident comments.
Thank you. Carol Steck, Lot 1006. Some observations about the discussion on the golf committee when you started talking about the charter. There seem to be two very different schools of thought as to what the golf committee's purpose is. Dick came across as very much pushing, oh, it just has to do kind of with the grass, the fairways, the greens, that's it. They shouldn't be doing anything else. And I find it very ironic that 5 minutes later you were discussing two proposals from the golf committee, one which had to do with a 10% discount on soft goods, the other which had to do with a medical leave policy. I would think that the golf committee, I mean, we have relied on them last year in budget time, coming up with rate proposals for greens fees, et cetera. I mean, they have done a tremendous amount of work. And I don't know why, and they're not making decisions. They are simply coming up with proposals that, whether they go to golf management or they go to the board, I would think the board would want to encourage this. I just want you all to be aware that there was an absolute disconnect between what was being set up there and what's actually happening. And I hope as you look at their charter next time that you don't restrict them to just looking at, you know, the shape of the golf course itself. The golf committee has been very instrumental in bringing some things to light that need policies. That we don't have a policy about the medical leave, or we don't have a policy about this social membership, and we don't have. Obviously, it's needed, and I would hope that you would empower that committee to continue what I consider to be some very good work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Tom,